Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the Bitcoin miner stocks and Coinbase, and we'll also take a look at MicroStrategy 2 as an added bonus. So let's get it. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to show you our positions as of right now. In our own personal portfolio, we still have all of the BTBT, Cypher, and HUD 8 positions. You guys can see we have 5 covered calls written here. They are all currently profitable, meaning that if they were to expire today, they would expire worthless. We get to keep the premium and our shares because the our average price our average price is below the strike price, which means even if it hits the strike price, we still make money. We get to take profit and also keep the premium, so it's a win-win. But the market price is below all of these strike prices, as you guys are going to see in a minute. So scroll down here. You guys can see the market price of BTBT is 286. Cypher is 335 currently. There is some after hours trading going on from the look of it. And HUD 8 is 885. So our strike prices for BTBT is, I believe, $3.50 and $5. The strike price for Cypher is $5 and $5.50. And HUD 8 is $12.50. As you guys can see, it's well below all those. We have cumulative between those three positions about 500 shares. So not a huge amount, but not a small amount either. So with that being said, let's get into the charts on the first Bitcoin miner. This is BTBT. So you guys are probably wondering, why is Bitcoin going up, but the Bitcoin miners are going down? You know, that is actually an interesting question that I personally don't know the answer to. So as you guys know, Bitcoin just had a massive rip. We recently just exited our position, just so y'all know, roughly about 62,500. We plan on buying back in on the dip whenever that happens, roughly between 50 to 60K, somewhere in there. We'll let you guys know when that happens. But yeah, so Bitcoin basically was moonshotting, and for some reason the miners went down. So one reason I can think of that this could be happening is because the Bitcoin miners might be selling some of their holdings at a profit. You guys have to remember these Bitcoin miners are technically a business. Okay, they mine Bitcoin, which means they have to pay for electricity costs. They have to pay for the Bitcoin miner units and whatever else they need. Okay, so there are business expenses to be associated with these miners. Plus, they also want to turn a profit. So, you know, it's probably a combination of the two. My guess is I would say that the miners were probably selling some of their Bitcoin holdings, not necessarily to dump the markets or anything crazy like that, but just simply because they have costs they have to pay for. You got to remember the Bitcoin mining industry is a two-edged sword. Okay, so on one half, in order to make money, they have to mine the Bitcoin, right? So in order to make money, they have to have the equipment and the infrastructure to mine the Bitcoin. But on the flip side, in order to continue making money, they have to sell the Bitcoin, which then they turn around and use to buy more equipment to mine more Bitcoin and to pay for the electricity in the building and all that stuff. Okay. So it's kind of a revolving door here. So that would be my guess as to why the price of a lot of these miners have not moonshot, with the exception of Mara, because earnings is coming up when Bitcoin was going up. So eventually they will go up. It's just kind of a question of when. So, anyways, the support and resistance remains the same: 150 to $2, and then $4 to about, I'd say, all the way up here at the tippy top of this thing, so about $5. Um, Not looking bullish or bearish, just kind of chopping around at this point, not really making a decision. I would still say it's pretty cheap and a good time to buy, if you know, that's just, of course, my opinion. So the peak, as you guys can see here, is at $33 in the previous cycle. That was this thing topped out roughly a month after Bitcoin broke through 20,000 and went to new all-time highs in the previous Bitcoin bull cycle. So that's kind of the timing on that. But from current prices, that's more than an 11x on your money, just so you all know. So pretty good return for a Bitcoin miner stock. It actually, I'm thinking actually, uh, my guess is that this probably returned more than Bitcoin. I could be wrong, but yeah, 28 cents up to 28 cents to $28 is roughly about 100x. So Yeah, that's more than Bitcoin did. I mean, Bitcoin did a 23x from its lows to the highs, so that's actually a pretty good return. I don't know if it's going to do another 100x from the lows. I mean, if it did, you'd be looking at roughly about a 50 to $60 BTBT. In this case, that'd be a 20x, so that's still pretty good. But we'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, with the measured move here, if you guys were to get it now, you could make anywhere from 50% to, I would say, probably around 100% or so, 90-ish percent. Still pretty good if you ask me. So Cypher, this one is also kind of doing nothing, as you guys can see. Generally speaking, just so y'all know, the way it works in crypto, generally speaking, when the price is doing nothing, it's just kind of bobbing sideways. That indicates accumulation. Okay. So there are going to be some people buying down in these zones, just so y'all know, whether you do or not. So it is sitting above the EMAs. That's slightly bullish, but again, the price is basically doing nothing. It's just bobbing around. Uh, Generally speaking, when the prices are the most boring, that's the best time to buy. That's been my experience in crypto in the previous cycle. So the current buy zone is going to be between 225 to 265, and then you have resistance at $5 to 530 and 45 cents to about $1.30 on the macro support. I don't think it's going to go back down there, but you never know. So we'll go ahead and do the measured move here. You guys can see it would range anywhere from 69 to about roughly 90-ish percent, very similar to BTBT. So we'll go over HUD 8 here. So HUD 8 still is in the buy zone. It has not broken this downtrend, which means there is another opportunity to buy the dip. So the current support is between 360 to 870 per share. We'll just go ahead and do the measure move here. So you could be looking at as much in the immediate short term as 160% if it has a move back up. Just so y'all know, the previous peak, the previous cycle peak is roughly about $82 a share, and it went up to that level from, it looks like, a lows of about $2. So that was roughly about a 40x. I mean, if it does a 40x on this current cycle, the return would be massive. You'd be looking at roughly about a $240 HUD 8. I don't know if it's going to happen like that. But I'd say at least a 20x is probably reasonable from $6. So could go from the current price to maybe $120. We'll just have to wait and see. So here's Riot. This one, once again, is kind of doing nothing. It's a little bit more bullish than these three, but once again, just kind of chopping around in this range. So support is between $8.50 to about $10 a share. Resistance, $18.70 to about $21, and then your macro support is $3.40 to about $5.40. So the measured move on this one from current prices is clearly not going to be as good as the smaller Bitcoin miner stocks, but you would still get about 26% on the low end. And we'll remeasure this. Roughly about 30% on the high end, which is still pretty good. I mean, again, keep in mind our standard swing trades in traditional markets is only 15% per trade. Anything else above and beyond that is just icing on the cake. So the peak here for Riot is at $80. As you guys can see, the low was roughly about $1. So you're looking at an 80x. Will it do something like that this time around? It's possible. I would say it's probably more likely it'll do something like a 40x. But again, the Bitcoin spot ETFs have been approved, so anything is possible at this point. I'm not willing to rule anything out. But even if it did just get a 40x, I mean, that could put the price at, let's just look and see what the price would be. All-time high price, $600. Again, that seems like a stretch, but it is possible, I suppose. Or my bad. So I did this wrong. So 40x from the lows. So let's redo this. So 350 times a 40x, roughly about $140. So that's a little bit more than, I would say about 60 to 70% above the previous all-time high. Still pretty good return. That'd be roughly about maybe a 9-ish x from here. So a pretty good bull market top potential return there. So now we'll look at Mara. This is everybody's favorite. I do want to let you guys know, Gonna zoom out here a little bit. So Mara just recently had earnings from the look of it. I'm guessing that this was after market hours. As you guys can see, they absolutely smashed expectations. So this thing could be going to the moon in the morning. If it does rip past this all-time highs, we can see Mara go all the way up to 52 to 58 bucks. Are we going to buy Mara? Probably not. Um, because we're more focused on native crypto grayscale trusts and the smaller Bitcoin miner stocks. Because again, the smaller the market cap, the bigger the potential move. But it could be a potential trade for those of you guys out there that like to swing trade. Of course, enter at your own risk. If you do swing trade, make sure you do your own technicals, not financial advice, but you want to know what you're getting into and when to get in and when to get out. So as of right now, this resistance is holding, but because earnings was so good, I would say it's probably going to break and turn into support. So let's go ahead and do the measured move on that. So it could be anywhere from 69 to 87% if it was to move up. But as of right now, as of the current, it is still resistance. But keep in mind, the market might just absolutely FOMO into this thing, just super FOMO at market open tomorrow. So that could happen. Your next support below that's going to be 18 to about $20. So we'll move out here, take a look at the actual peak here. So the previous cycle peak was at $83, as you guys can see. A pretty large move from the bottom of this thing. Was, let's say it was like roughly $1 or so. So it's kind of hard to see here, but well, the bottom was at 8 cents. We're not going to measure from that. I think that's probably a little too much. So we'll say the bottom was basically roughly about $2. Okay. So the bottom was at $2. Peak is at $80. So that's a 40x from the current low. 328 would be roughly about, well, we'll call it 330 for good measure. So we'll say roughly about $130. Yeah, about $130. So potentially a 4x from here is still pretty good money if you ask me. So that's Mara. Soundhound has come down a little bit, just so y'all know. If you guys are interested in that, that's up to you. So BitF. This thing is still looking kind of bearish. I would say the buying opportunity would be somewhere between 2 to about 230 per share. Resistance is 297, and we'll just say $3 to 360. Measured move from the EMAs could be roughly about 80%. That's still pretty good return. If you take a look at the peak here, the peak's pretty big, actually. It's $9. So the bottom was, well, it's hard to say exactly. So I don't know. The bottom was at 17 cents. I don't know that this thing's gonna be doing that big of a move. We'll just figure out what this is. So $9 divided by 17. 52x. I mean, it could do a 52x from the bottom. It's possible. I'd say a more conservative estimate would be like a 20 to a 30x. So we'll just say this thing does a 30x from, I don't know, 42 cents. Well, okay, yeah. You know what? I guess it's not that ridiculous. Let's just go ahead and do the 52x because the bottom on this cycle is 32 cents. So yeah, I'd say $16 is definitely a possibility. So roughly about a 5x from here. Okay, so Coinbase, looking very bullish. Resistance is between 210 to 230. Keep in mind the cycle peak was at roughly about 430 bucks. After the current Coinbase fiasco today, it wouldn't surprise me if the shares actually dump tomorrow at the open. That could be possible. If that does happen, whether it goes up, goes down, good opportunity to buy Coney. Just so y'all know, we have Coney here. So this is the Coinbase Yield Max ETF. And then we also have the 1 share of MSTY ETF. We do plan on buying more. We're just not going to buy any more yet until we get past this upcoming dividend payment for Coney, because the following month MSTY should have a dividend. So support still sits here at 150 to about 176 per share. If you waited for the pullback, assuming it does get a pullback based on the kind of fuddish news today with Coinbase, and just so y'all know, it is true. We did experience it ourselves. Fortunately, it got fixed. So 42 to about 53% in the immediate short term. Now let's take a look at the bonus here. This is going to be MSTR. So MicroStrategy, as you guys know, has absolutely moonshot as a result of Bitcoin going up. So huge move here. If Bitcoin does pull back, expect MSTR to pull back because, as you guys know, they hold about 200,000 Bitcoin. So previous peak here was $987. As you guys can see, the bottom was $93, so roughly about a 10x. The bottom on this most recent bear market cycle was roughly about 130 bucks. So the peak could actually be somewhere around 13. Well, hold on a sec. So uh no, so the bottom was 100, the peak was 1300, so my bad. So a 13x. So we'll do 130 times a 13x. Assuming that everything remains the same, this thing could go up to 1700, so it could nearly double in price from here. That's very good for the price of MicroStrategy and also MSTY. Just so y'all know, I looked into this myself. The premiums of MicroStrategy itself is absolutely bonkers. Of course, we're not going to put 100K into MicroStrategy just to write an options covered call on that. There's much easier and cheaper and probably less risky ways to do it. But we do plan on buying MSTY going into the Bitcoin bull run. So anyways, this is the Bitcoin miner stocks. Some of them still look pretty cheap, some fair value. I would say Mara could be a little expensive tomorrow after the open. If what I think is about to happen is about to happen, their earnings were extremely good, so it could just absolutely moonshot. That's not financial advice. Again, do your own research. But anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see y'all later. Peace.